Welcome to Design Your Destiny, your podcast for tapping into the power of your subconscious mind. In this next few minutes, allow me to show you how to tap into that power so that you can create success with ease, form deeper connections, and have greater presence in your relationships, and most importantly, find peace within yourself. My name is Penny Chason, and I'm your host. Hey, joyful souls, coming to you today with a special episode. It's special because I'm sitting in my office on Thanksgiving Day recording this episode. And the reason that I'm here is because I'm really in a deep state of gratitude today. And I know that sounds cliche, and I know that you're not listening to this on Thanksgiving Day, but there is a reason that today is pretty significant for me. 1 year ago today, I was in our small community hospital. I had been in the hospital for 4 days, very sick, quite ill with the COVID virus. And for 4 days straight, I had been on 60 liters of oxygen, and it took everything I had to just be able to turn over in bed and to not get short of breath or begin coughing a tremendous amount. And there's a deep state of gratitude here because I remember the day that I went into the hospital. For those of you who don't know me, I am a nurse anesthetist, and I left anesthesia practice in 2019. I call myself retired, but I didn't technically retire. I walked away from the profession. So for 25 years almost, I had been in healthcare, all of it in intensive care units or in anesthesia. And when we went into the ER that Monday morning before Thanksgiving, and the doctor looked at us and said, "There are no ICU beds in the state," I knew how truly sick I was. I mean, I already knew on the inside, but to have an independent person confirm it was something else altogether. I'm grateful because for over for 2 years, I had been working with my mentor and coach in a group coaching program, Jim Fortin. Now, I've been in hypnosis since 2013. I know how important the way we think is. I know definitively that hypnosis can help us to heal, to decrease stress, to improve our health. But there is a lot more to managing your mindset and being in a place of peace than simply hypnosis. And having been in Jim Fortin's transformational coaching program for 2 years, I was able to manage the situation much better than if I had not. My husband is a registered nurse. He worked on the COVID unit. And when I got sick, I was feeling bad for a few days, and then I would feel better. And then the next day, it was just like I got slammed. And with him working on the COVID unit, knowing how busy they were, he was actually monitoring me. I was just focusing on, healing at home. And then that Monday morning, things came to a head. And his comment to me was, "Do you think we should call the doctor and get you some steroids?" And in about 5 or 6 gaspy breaths, I managed to get out, "I need to go to the hospital." Because I knew where I was clinically from a standpoint that I really needed a medical care team. Like I was beyond anything that we could do at home. And I also recognized that physiologically I was in a place that if I had become fearful, even the least bit panicked or scared, I would have been in big trouble. Healthcare providers who may be listening to this understand exactly what I'm talking about. You come to a point where that if, you're dealing with a patient who's having breathing and oxygen issues, if they begin to become upset about that or fearful about that, they can very easily just fall off a cliff in terms of managing their breathing, their oxygen status, and those kinds of things. So that's where I was when I went into the hospital. It was taking all of my focus and all of my attention to be in a place of peace and to just allow myself to breathe. And I would not have had the capacity mentally and emotionally to do that without having been in 2 years of coaching. And I'm just in so much gratitude today because I can reflect back. I can see where I was. And I believe it was on Thanksgiving Day last year where I was finally in a place where I didn't have to be so hyper-focused on my breathing, that I actually began to use self-hypnosis in the hospital. And I mean, for hours at a time, just mentally, I would go into that hypnotic state, and I would go into my healing room in that hypnotic state. And I would focus my attention on breathing, my body healing itself, my lungs expanding. And without all of my tools, I probably never would have even thought to do that because I was that sick. So I'm just in an extreme gratitude today that I'm able to be here to have this conversation with you. Gratitude isn't just about feeling grateful for something. Gratitude is a state of being. Gratitude creates a very specific chemical response in the brain. There are parts of our brain that are wired for well-being, and gratitude is being in a state of well-being. There are actual studies that show that gratitude reduces depression, it reduces anxiety, it reduces pain scores, and cortisol levels can return to baseline just from being in a state of gratitude. And you don't have to be in the state of gratitude all the time. One of the very specific studies I'm referencing, I believe, was out of Stanford. And they had study participants. They evaluated them. They gave them a depression and an anxiety score. Then for 6 weeks, once a week, they had them write a letter of gratitude. At the end of the 6 weeks, they measured their depression and anxiety scores, and they were reduced. Now, they didn't have them do anything else at that point, but 3 months later, 12 weeks later, they came back and they reassessed the participants, and their depression and anxiety scores remained lowered. So I want you to really to think about that. The healing power of gratitude. And a lot of people may go to this place that, well, gratitude can't heal anything. It doesn't directly heal. It allows you to put your brain in a state where the chemical environment promotes the body healing itself. You see, people talk about cellular stress. They talk about stress in the body. They talk about oxidative stress, and people will promote things and they talk about these things as if they are independent, distinct, separate things, and they are not. Your body, everything inside of your bag of skin, is one huge ecosystem, so to speak. Everything is influenced by everything else. So when you reduce the activation of the stress response in the brain chemicals change, nervous system outputs change, endocrine outputs change, everything changes into a more positive state, a state that supports health and wholeness as opposed to a state that promotes disease and illness. So even though you won't be listening to this until around the first of the year, or maybe a little after, this is my gift to you this Thanksgiving. Embrace gratitude. Embrace gratitude, make it a part of your life. Avoid using gratitude to bypass your real feelings. You've heard me say that before, I won't go into it. But embrace gratitude. No matter how small something is, have gratitude for it. In the morning before I get out of bed, I mentally run through a list of everything I'm grateful for, from the air I'm breathing to the bed that I'm sleeping in to the roof over my head. It's not the same every day. But I express that gratitude. And it's even more powerful if you take the time to write it down. Have a great week, and I will catch you next time. Thank you for listening today. If you've enjoyed this episode of Design Your Destiny, I would appreciate it if you would head over to iTunes and leave a positive review. When you leave a positive review, it's like podcast currency, and we can increase our reach and get the message to even more people that they, just like you, have the ability to design their destiny. And remember, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform.